The Bible verse that kept me going when God was silent. There's a kind of silence that doesn't just surround you. It lives inside you. It shows up in the early mornings, when the world is quiet, and your thoughts are louder than ever. It lingers in your chest, long after the Amen has left your lips, and nothing changes. You've prayed, not once, not casually, but desperately, repeatedly, maybe even with tears in your throat, and hope hanging by a thread. And yet, the answer never comes. No parting sky, no voice, no sign, just stillness. Not cold, not cruel, just silent. And it's in that silence that you start to ask questions you never dared before. God, are you even listening? Did I do something wrong? Or am I simply not worth responding to? I've been there, not just once, but for seasons, long ones, the kind where you pray out of habit, more than belief, the kind where you feel like you're the only one still holding on, and even that grip is slipping, until one night, in a moment of weariness more than faith, I opened my Bible, not to find answers, but because I didn't know where else to go. And there it was, a verse that didn't explain the silence, didn't solve the waiting, but it gave me something else. Strength to stay, to hold on, to believe, even in the stillness. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14 verse 14. I'd read that verse before, but this time, it felt different. I wasn't in a place of victory. I wasn't feeling brave. I was exhausted, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. I had prayed until the words became muscle memory, until my heart wasn't sure if it still believed them. And in that weariness, this verse found me. You need only to be still, not perform, not fix, not prove that you're strong enough to deserve a miracle. Just be still. Those words didn't sound passive. They sounded like a deep, soul-level permission to rest, to stop striving, to stop assuming silence means absence. Because right before that stillness comes the promise. The Lord will fight for you. Not you will fight your way through. Not you must figure it out. But He will, on your behalf, in ways you may never see, in places your prayers haven't reached yet. And all He asks of you is to stay, to breathe, to be still. That verse didn't erase the silence, but for the first time, it gave the silence meaning. Maybe God wasn't absent. Maybe He was fighting, while I was learning to trust. There was a season in my life when I prayed the same prayer every single night. Sometimes it was a whisper, sometimes it was through tears, and sometimes it was just silence, because I didn't even have the words anymore. I was waiting on something. No, not something. Someone. I was waiting for God to do what only He could do. I needed a breakthrough, a healing, a door to open, a sign that He still saw me. And for the longest time, nothing happened. People around me moved forward. Prayers were answered for them. Doors opened for them. And I stayed right where I was, still, stuck, and slowly losing hope. I remember one night in particular. I was sitting on the floor of my bedroom, lights off, just holding my Bible without even opening it. I didn't want a verse. I wanted a voice. I didn't want a lesson. I wanted relief. And instead, I got silence. But for some reason, I opened the Bible anyway, not with expectation, just with habit. And there it was. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. I froze. I wasn't expecting anything. And yet those words, they felt like they had been waiting for me all along. I read it again. Slowly. The Lord will fight for you. I wasn't forgotten. I wasn't being punished. I wasn't stuck because God didn't care. Maybe I was being held in a quiet place because something was being fought for that I couldn't yet see. And then the second part, you need only to be still. That broke me because I had been trying so hard, striving, forcing, questioning, begging. But all God was asking of me was to stay, to be still, to trust that even in the silence, He was still working. That verse didn't fix my situation. It didn't open the door I was waiting on. It didn't fill my inbox with answers, or my heart with immediate peace. But it did do something far more important. It changed how I carried the waiting. I started to realize something I hadn't seen before. That God's silence doesn't mean absence. And it certainly doesn't mean indifference. Maybe He wasn't ignoring me. Maybe He was protecting me, shielding me, fighting battles I didn't even know were coming. And all He asked of me was to stop running in circles, to stop fixing everything myself, to stop trying to earn what He already wanted to give freely. Just be still. It wasn't passive. It wasn't weak. It was trust, a deep, steady kind of trust that says, I don't understand right now, but I choose to stay anyway. I had always thought strength meant pushing harder, but in God's hands, strength sometimes looks like surrender. And stillness, that became my act of worship, my way of saying, God, I trust You to fight for me, even if I can't see the battlefield. Slowly, my prayers changed. I stopped asking, when will You speak? And started whispering, even in the silence, I'll stay. And somehow, not all at once, but gently, peace began to take root. Not because I had what I asked for, but because I began to believe. I already had what I needed most, a God who fights for me and never, ever leaves. If you're in a season of silence, waiting on a prayer that feels unanswered, waiting for direction, or just waiting for something to feel different, I want you to know this: you're not waiting alone. And silence is not the same as absence. Just because God isn't speaking loudly doesn't mean He stopped working. Just because you don't hear Him doesn't mean He stopped hearing you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is what feels the smallest. Be still, not give up, not numb yourself, but stay. Stay in the quiet. Stay in the tension. Stay in the belief that you are still being fought for. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14 verse 14. That's not a call to inactivity. It's an invitation to intimacy, to trust. And maybe the reason the noise around you has faded is because God is teaching you to hear His voice. In the quiet. If this story met you in a silent place, if it reminded you that your waiting is not wasted, I invite you to subscribe to Hush Journal. Here, we don't rush healing. We don't pretend to have answers. We just make space for quiet stories, honest prayers, and a kind of faith that stays, even when the answers don't come fast. You're welcome here, just as you are, with your waiting, with your questions, with your whisper of hope. We'll be right here, in the quiet, every time you need someone to remind you God is still fighting for you.
Try that.